out, that you can take care of the network yourself.
In the case of Wired West, no, just, no, but in the case of Wired West, the towns own it from the beginning, 100%. Own it, and control it, and share it proportional to how much money they put in.
I'm assuming that when this grid is complete and all the proposals can be reviewed, the costs for the town will be available, the costs of the installation to the users will be available, and the monthly cost for services. So those can be compared. I don't know.
And we know a good bit of that information already. That's in the documents that are available.
Which documents you're talking about?
The proposals that
The three proposals that are on Facebook.
yes.
Okay.
There's also, I don't think it's Egremont 4, but you probably know more about this than I do. Gary Warner is going to put up a page.
Right,
Yes,
so
it's
he
not up
said
yet.
It's not there yet.
It's not up yet.
It's not up yet, but apparently he's planning to take all of the information, all of the proposals and the prices and whatever he can find, and he said he's going to try to contact the various vendors as well to get straight information from them individually, and he'll be putting all that up on his website as well shortly as he can get it.
It was my understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong, or I should ask it as a question, if we had Matrix doing the build, he said that we would be paying for the ready work, and they would be paying for the rest of the stuff. Am I wrong in assuming that, or not assuming, but didn't the MBI guy say that the make-ready work, if you're hiring a separate company to do it, then you don't get that share of the state funding?
Well, that's a really good question because I'm a little confused about that myself.
If I could help to explain this a little bit. There's basically, in the IT bond bill, there was $50 million set aside.
Right.
$5 million is going toward what they're calling the cable towns. There's $5 million that's being retained by MBI for other purposes. And there's $40 million that's being available to the 44 towns that are considered unserved, of which Egremont's one of them. That $40 million is being broken into two buckets. There's one bucket of $18 million that Eric wants to put aside for towns that are using MBI to build the network.
Eric is the
Eric Nakajima, who's the director of MBI.
not Eric Swanson.
So the soft costs, the MBI costs include the engineering, the pole data surveys, the project managers, legal, consultants, things like that. Then there's also $22 million that's basically available for all 44 towns. Right now, according to Eric Nakajima at the last meeting, all 44 towns have a portion of that $22 million. That $22 million should be enough to cover the costs for the make-ready for the town. So potentially, the net cost of the town could be zero. We don't think it'll be that because the town's going to have their legal costs, which are probably not going to be covered by MBI. There might be some police details that are probably not going to be covered by MBI. And they also have to have a place to house the electronics for this network. And we intend to have a network point of presence in the town.
So am I interpreting, thank you for asking that, would it be a correct interpretation that $18 million pot of, if we were to do Wired West, a portion of that would help defray Egremont's?
It's the other way around. It's $18 million that they're saying might not be available to the town. And it's the $22 million that's guaranteed to be available to the town.
Well, I think what Jeff was saying was that if the town went with Wired West, part of that $18 million goes to be applied to the make-ready work for the Wired West build. That's what he was asking.
Right, but the answer to that is no, because make-ready is considered part of construction.
Okay.
What's being
It
used
doesn't
for
matter what it's used for. The point is that you will get your portion of the 18 million and you will get your portion of the 22 million if you go with Wired West.
and you will also use the entire amount that you authorize for bond to go to Wired West as well. So you're basically taking a small portion of money and then to give over a large portion of money. which is also true.
Let me ask some questions, I'm sorry. There are three prospective bidders. Do any of these bidders, or do all of these bidders, have a minimum number of subscribers that they must have before they will proceed, or are they bidding for this contract and will be ready to operate once the contract is signed?
We had a minimum number for construction starts. I forget what that number is, but
470.
it was 470. It's very close to the 40%.
That's about half the houses.
Yeah, it's very close to the 40% that Wired West is requiring that you'd have before build as well.
Wired West required $49. Do you have a financial requirement as well?
For installation, we would require a $500 installation fee for each home. But to put that in perspective, we built the town of Leverett. The town of Leverett did a $3.6 million bond to do their build. On average, that's $300 per year per tax house, based upon a home of $295,000 in value. We're asking for $500 once. The town of Leverett is asking for $300 a year for 20 years. Now, the Wired West plan says that they will give you back the money that they're borrowing, but if the town does not get that money back, the taxpayers will be paying probably much more than $500 in net.
But your proposal requires each home to send you a check for $500.
Yes, a one-time fee.
And then the 24-month commitment.
A 24-month commitment, but we're pretty much sure that if you're taking broadband, it's because you want it for your house.
Right.
We have the option, if it's a seasonal person or something along those lines, they have the option of doing a installation charge of $1,500 one time with zero months commitment. So they can turn it on and turn it off at an as-will basis.
With a connection fee.
No,
No connection fee.
just call us up and we'll turn on service.
Okay.
Adam, did you want an opportunity to?
The third. Again, I've talked a lot, that's because I have to go.
Thank you for coming. I appreciate all the time you guys gave me.
If you have more questions, just email info@wiredwest.net. And I'll see you guys next Thursday.
Thank you very much, thank you.
Someone had asked that we differ. We are proposing a primarily underground service, so the whole application process is minimal for us. We're privately funded, we're venture backed, and what we're proposing is more of a loan structure. So at the end of the day, the town's costs would be recouped completely. Regardless of the
You went
proposal.
from, because it's a loan structure.
I gotta read the proposal, right?
Yeah,
Because it's a loan
it's
structure.
detailed in the proposal, but essentially, what we're saying is regardless of the performance of the network, we will be paying back what we borrow. So.
Unless you go bankrupt.
I'm sorry?
Unless you go bankrupt.
Yes, but the town would be the lien holders, you would then gain control of the network. to do
I
it.
see.
Get another provider of the network, right?
In some of the email chain that went around, there was some questions about the size of your enterprise and your background. I'm not sure.
I have over 20 years in network infrastructure builds, mostly private campus builds, but I've been doing this for a long time. Our venture partner, who is actually an Egremont resident, is one of the original investors in PSI, which was the first national fiber build, which has now been consumed by lots of different providers like Level 3 and Tower and so on. So my history in network design and his background in investing and being involved in infrastructure builds and fiber builds is quite extensive. As a company, we formed FiberConnect on the heels of the middle mile going in. So the company is only a couple.
Just to give you some background on us as well. There's two companies. There's Matrix Design Group that does the engineering and Millennium Communications that does the installation and electronics. The two companies have the same ownership. The company's been around for 20 years now. This is our 20th anniversary being in business. Our customers include people like Level 3, AT&T, Verizon, Rutgers University, EC Fiber. We just finished Town of Leverett. Our revenues are 8 figures a year, above 8 figures a year. So we're very stable, very profitable, and we're very interested in building in the town.
Privately owned?
Privately owned, yes.
Are there any other?
I'm glad I came, because otherwise
Meeting would have been incestuous.
Correct. Yes, we've had a lot of that. Welcome and come again.
Yeah.
Any other questions? So I guess we don't have a formal adjournment since we're not really having a
We're not
formal.
really having a meeting.
Charlie, I think Charlie formally adjourned before he left.
Okay.
If that's the case, it's not a formal meeting, then I would like to make the motion to adjourn. I never get to do that. I never get to do that.
Okay.
Thank you all for
Thank
coming.
you, everybody.